In a dusty corner of northeast Thailand is a village like no other. For in this two-horse town live 300 snakes, most of them king cobras. It's known as Bangkok Sana, Serpent Town, and the slithering reptiles are everywhere. For the people of Kok Sanga make their living thanks to this fanged friend, as every day they face the hiss of death. The King Cobra Club of Thailand, a place where women dance with fully fanged cobras and men fight these spring-coiled killing machines barehanded. Kok Sanga's champion snake fighter is Tongkam. The king cobras he outwits are neither defanged nor milked of their venom. They are 100% deadly. As he dances around the ring, shadowboxing the snake, he anticipates the cobra's strike. Lowering himself close to the ground, he puts himself directly in the firing line of the cobra's half-inch hypodermic fangs. A king cobra always strikes down, and dancing under the serpent's gaze means he's a prime target. The referee calls the fight blow by blow. To win, Tongkam must survive 2 minutes in the ring with his venomous opponent. Losing the fight could mean losing his life. In the village of Kok Sanga, there are dozens of men like Tongkam who make their living dodging the cobra's fangs and fury. Kok Sanga is situated on the dry, dusty plains of northeast Thailand, where cobras are king and fighting snakes is a way of life. The king cobra is the largest venomous snake on the planet, but here in Kok Sanga, they're more common than cats and dogs. Some 120 families live in the village. 70 of them have their own pet cobra, which they keep in a box at home. King cobras are considered protectors of the village, as the people here depend on the snake for their livelihood. Most villagers of Kok Sanga make their living from donations from the snake show and by peddling herbal medicines. Powders, ointments, root distillations, claiming to cure everything from heartache to snake bite. Every time tourists pull into the village, the snake fighters will put on a half-hour show, and they do this every day of the year. They may fight up to a dozen times a day. The show must go on. It's tiring and risky work, but for people like Tongkam, fighting snakes is a way of life they're born into.
My first memory from childhood was my father fighting the king cobra. He would keep the snake in a box inside the house. I asked him, "What if I wanted to play with this king cobra? Would you let me, father?" He said, "Yes, but you have to grow up a bit more. You must finish school first. Then you can play with the cobra." A few years later, my father got drunk one day, and he couldn't perform on stage. He was so drunk that people thought the snake might bite him. So they asked me to fight the cobra instead. I never fought a snake before, but my uncle said, "You perform any way you like, but be careful, because none of our snakes are defanged. They are dangerous, so try not to get bitten." So I went and put on a show, and people cheered for me and liked my performance. I've been a snake fighter ever since.
Tongkam's own son was not so keen to inherit the family business.
ลูกชายผมไม่ครับ
My son does not fight snakes, which I think is strange.
ผมก็บอกเขาอยู่
I asked him if he wanted to fight snakes, and he said, no, he's too scared. I asked him why. You've seen me fight. How come you don't want to grow up to be like me? He said, I don't want to be bitten like you. I've seen you taken to the hospital. I don't want that to happen to me.
Instead, his 8-year-old nephew, Tuck, is being groomed as the next generation of snake fighters. Every day, Tuck comes to watch Tongkam fight the king cobra. He is mad about snakes and helps his uncle out so he can learn how to be a great snake fighter. Tongkam has agreed to train him as he sees Tuck has the same ambition he had when he was starting out. Tuck is now his apprentice. Tuck's father passed away in an accident when Tuck was only 5 years old. Since then, Tuck has been the main breadwinner of the family. He realizes that becoming a great snake fighter is a way of securing his family's future. Tuck's apprenticeship involves learning all aspects of the craft, including how to care for the cobra. Every 3 days, it's feeding time. King cobras are snake eaters, preferring the taste of their kin over any warm-blooded mammal. A king cobra will eat up to 20 feet of other snakes each month. Even with dead snakes, the cobra will still inject its meal with venom as the toxic enzymes start the digestive process. The cobra's digestive tract is like a long, straight tube. With no cutting teeth, they gulp down every meal. Dinner is then washed down with a cup of cool water. Despite their fearsome reputation, many of the snakes in the village are as gentle as puppies. It's a matter of learning each of their different characteristics and understanding their habits, while not forgetting the creature is deadly. Tuck must learn respect for the king if he's going to make his future living as a snake fighter. With Tongkam at his side, he has the greatest teacher in the village as his guide. But it's not child's play. There's still much to learn before Tuck will face off against a deadly opponent and come face to face with the hiss of death. In the village of Koksanga, it's customary for girls to learn Thai dancing from an early age. But the dance their instructor Chalong teaches is unlike any other. Chalong's twist on the tradition commands even greater attention than a regular display of dancing, for the dance she teaches her students includes her own version of snake bite. Chalong was one of the first women to make the transition from kissing the cobra's hood to putting the snake's whole head in her mouth. She's now teaching the next generation the ropes by starting them on pythons, which are not venomous. Holding the serpent tight with their lips, the python's tongue sometimes tickles the back of their throat. They won't graduate to dancing with king cobras for another 6 to 10 years. While they're still at school, Many of the village girls performed this dance during weekend shows and school holidays as a way of earning extra pocket money. Those who choose to stay in Kok Sanga are likely to follow in their mother's footsteps and become professional cobra dancers. But many will grow up and leave the village behind. Chalong is preparing her chorus line of dancers for the annual King Cobra Festival, celebrated here in Kok Sanga during Thai New Year. The festival pays tribute to the King Cobra show, which began in the village 50 years ago. It started when a troupe of traveling herbalists who peddled their remedies amongst the rural communities of northeast Thailand settled in Kok Sanga. Amongst these herbalists was a man named Taken. He became the founder of the King Cobra Club when he caught the first wild cobra and brought it back to the village.
I took the snake back to Kok Sanga with me and put it in a box. People at home said to me, "Why did you bring it back? It will bite you or spit in your eyes and kill you." I told them to mind their own business.
Taken decided to use the King Cobra as a sales gimmick for his medicine show.
When I started playing with the cobra, the snake would prepare to strike, and before it could get me, I would move away again and again, and I grabbed its neck before it could bite. So people said, "My, you so brave! My, so fast are you! You may die from falling, but surely you won't be bitten." And then they bought my medicine. I made about 200 to 300 baht each day. I was so happy, and I made all that money by myself.
He might be retired now, but Taken still loves his snakes.
Now I'm 84 years of age, and I still like to play with snakes. I'm not tired of them yet. I think I will catch more king cobras and keep them here.
The King Cobra has a powerful attraction. In Thailand, it's a creature that captures people's fascination and has been given godlike reverence. For hundreds of years, the cobra has held a special place in Thai mythology. While the snake has the power to take life, it also represents renewal, rebirth, and immortality. Within its lifetime, a king cobra will grow from 50 centimeters after hatching to reach up to 5.5 meters. To make way for its expanding size, the king cobra needs to shed its skin every few months. During shedding, the king rubs against rough ground to start the peeling process. As the itchy old skin comes off, it reveals not only new skin, but also new fangs, new teeth, and a new tongue. Shedding is seen as the ultimate symbol of immortality, of constant regeneration, and because of this, the snake is seen as a symbol of rebirth in the East. Unlike Western religion that brands the snake a symbol of evil, people in Thailand have revered king cobras and placed them at the center of their most sacred rites. For according to Buddhist scriptures, cobras were the protector of Siddhartha, the prince who later became the Buddha. The cobra's celestial form is the Naga, which can be seen guarding all temples in Thailand. Nagas are also depicted shielding Buddha as he meditates, spreading their hood to protect him from the rain. The link between snakes and religion is still strong in the Buddhist faith today, in temple iconography and religious ceremonies. All young boys who enter the monastery are still called Nagas before they are ordained. On the eve of the ordination ceremony, the Naga has his head shaved in a ritual of purification. Even the eyebrows must go. Once the Naga has been shaved, he is then dressed in white robes. Before he can wear the saffron robes of the novice monk, a ceremony is performed where he must answer the all-important question, are you Naga or are you man? For only a man can enter monkhood, while the cobra is relegated to the temple grounds. As boys his age are undertaking religious instruction, Tuck is preoccupied with his snake schooling. In his quest to become a champion snake fighter, Tuck has been training with non-venomous snakes for the past 2 years. His pet rat snake may not be deadly, but it certainly knows how to put on a show of bravado. Tuck is a determined young man, and there's a good reason why he takes his snakes so seriously. He knows that both his own fate and his family's future rests on his potential celebrity as a snake fighter.
Tuck became interested in handling snakes when he was in kindergarten, when he was only about 5 years old. I think that Tuck will follow in Tongkam's footsteps and become a snake fighter, because Tongkam has always been such an inspiration to him. He's learned so much from his uncle. He goes everywhere with him. Through his snake fighting, Tuck brings in income for the family, which is good because without him there's no one else to help me.
Although it seems like a dangerous occupation, Tuck's age is something of a blessing. The crowds are drawn to this pint-sized snake wrangler, and this year's festival could potentially bring in half a year's wage. As a result, Tuck's whole attention is focused on developing his show for the big event. Not surprisingly, Tuck often gets bitten during training, but the rat snake isn't venomous.
With rat snake bites, we put the herb on the cut, and it heals it over. Tuck never cries. He's very brave. But I wouldn't let him touch venomous snakes like the cobra.
Although he's lost his father, the village has adopted Tuck as their littlest snake fighter. There's always someone ready to look out for him and tend to his wounds. Herbal medicines take the sting out of a rat snake bite. But if Tuck had been playing with a king cobra, it would be a different story. For the king cobra is a potent killing machine, and cobras in the wild are especially unpredictable. Although snakes are colorblind, they can see movement over 300 feet away, and they have good hearing. Sound travels as vibrations along the skin to the jaw muscles and into the inner ear. If it feels threatened, the snake will rear up and make a warning sound, like a dog's growl, which is produced by tiny holes in the trachea and vibrates in the lungs. Sensing vibrations helps snakes avoid human contact. But if the confrontation becomes dangerous, a king cobra can inject enough venom to kill 20 people with one bite. Their venom is so powerful, it can even kill an elephant. Even though the elephant has thick leathery hide, the king cobra can deliver a deadly bite if it sinks its half-inch fangs into the soft skin on its trunk or between its toes. More venom is delivered in a king cobra bite than almost any other snake, as the king cobra uses a chewing motion as it pumps its victim full of venom. Even handling the venom carelessly can send a person into a coma. Despite this massive injection of venom, the king cobra is not the most dangerous snake in Thailand. Most deaths occur from a smaller species of common cobra, which is much more toxic. Yet even the most deadly snake can be counteracted by modern medicine, thanks to the antidotes being produced at the Red Cross Institute in Bangkok. Thousands of people are bitten by snakes each year in Thailand. But with more antivenin now available, only a small number of people die. Koh Sanga, however, is more than 800 kilometers from the modern wonders of Bangkok, and antivenin is hard to come by. For centuries, the locals have relied on their own remedies to deal with snakebite. The most famous is the Wangu root, which has been the lifeblood of the village. So confident are the villagers in the powers of the Wangu, they dice with death to prove the effectiveness of the plant.
We are taught by our teachers that if we get bitten, we should put herbal medicine on the bite and seek holy men to cast the spell on the bite to rid off the pain. Then we should bathe in holy water.
Tongkam has been bitten 4 times by king cobras and once by a common cobra. He's been bitten on the nose, the ear, the finger, and even on his backside. But the man who has survived more bites than any other is Takom. Now 52 years of age, Takom has been bitten more than 20 times. He has never been to hospital or received antivenin. Being bitten by a king cobra is considered an occupational hazard. But most snake fighters survive. That was until a few years ago, when one of the village's most famous fighters, Lord Pramong, succumbed to the hiss of death. On stage as usual, Lord was boxing against a 10-foot snake when he suddenly tripped on stage. Before he could stumble to his feet, the snake clamped onto his leg and locked his fangs into his flesh. Horrified tourists watched as Lord's colleagues struggled with the snake to free him. King cobra venom acts on the nervous system, sending the victim into a state of paralysis. With nerve impulses unable to fire and muscles unable to contract, death results from respiratory failure or cardiac arrest, or both. However, for Lord, the end came before he reached the hospital. The snake that killed Lord still lives in the village. Despite the mourning over his death, the snake was not destroyed. The naga is so sacred that if a cobra passes away, the village holds a funeral that lasts for 3 days in its honor. For the cobra is a sacred symbol. Not only does the serpent protect Buddha, the emergence of the king cobra also marks the coming of the monsoon. In many parts of Asia, the snake is considered the rainmaker. While the countryside bakes in the heat of burning rice fields, the king cobra takes shelter inside a termite mound. In this dry, dusty part of Thailand, where precious little rain falls, the eventual emergence of the king will be considered an omen. The serpent will signal the arrival of the wet season. But this snake has another fate awaiting, for there's a bounty on its head.